I usually never play during the winter because it's like it's so expensive in New York to play tennis.
Yeah.
But I've started to play in Randalls Island.
Random. Okay. The McEnroe Tennis Center's there?
The McEnroe Tennis Center is there. And I biked there, which is
that's even
more
crazier.
Insane.
That's
the cold.
insane.
Yeah. There's like a little bridge over the East River that I bike over. It's been like 10 degrees.
Sure.
So I'm dying. And I hadn't really been to Randalls Island. Like you know, if you're going the Triborough Bridge, you drive over it.
Right.
But I hadn't been there since I was a kid because that's where like baseball after school was, and there are all these like baseball fields, and I would just be horrible falling asleep.
It's traumatic for you.
It's very traumatic.
I'm assuming you weren't very good in Little League.
Not good at Little League. No. But I would spend like my summers were there, and so as I'm like biking around, it's completely deserted.
Yeah.
You know, and like creepily so, and they're like woods, and there are all these like strange buildings that are completely barbed wire. There are all these tents along, like just people have set up camp and are just living there. And even biking there, you just see who's walking across the bridge, and it's like weird vibes.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, what's actually going on
in Randalls Island?
So I looked. So I looked it up, Brian. This is what's going on at Randalls Island, the place. Keep this in mind, where we send our children to play sports, young children.
Yeah, for people who are outside of New York, Randalls Island is. It's like
it's in between
random.
Queens, Manhattan, and the Bronx.
Yeah, but if you're coming from upstate, you'll have to drive through it.
Yeah.
To get to Brooklyn.
Okay, so the first thing there is a wastewater treatment plant.
Beautiful.
Great. So it smells like shit.
Wait, and they only have one convenience store, right? Or like one.
I have not seen any stores.
Okay.
I don't see anyone when I'm there.
Okay.
It's also been really cold, but. Yeah, so the treatment plant receives sewage from two grit. The sewage plant receives sewage from two grit chambers. So it's just taken all of the Bronx Manhattan shit, just dumping there.
Okay.
Now the next thing there is Kirby Forensic Psychiatric Center. The Kirby Center houses some of New York State's most violent mentally ill patients.
Oh my God!
Yes. Okay. So that's there, just Arkham Asylum, you know, from Gotham, just there. Okay, then you're like, oh, what else could be here? Then there's one of the biggest homeless shelters, which accommodated almost 1,000 men, making it the largest homeless shelter in New York City. And because there are no schools on Randalls Island, there are over 100 registered sex offenders because they can live there and not be close. Okay, and then on top of that, during the migrant crisis, it also became like a huge. The city opened up a shelter for migrants, for male migrants to live there, and then I think there's also like a firefighter like training facility. So this place where we send our little boys to play baseball in a literal pile of shit filled with mentally ill, violent convicts,
sex
the
offenders.
jokers and sex offenders.
Hey,
that's how New York does it. There's not a lot of space. You have to be creative.
This is why masculinity has become soft.
You have to have your
kids
kids
to them,
and you're murdering pedophiles just right next to each other.
That's so funny.
Yeah, and you bike past you're biking. And you're like, oh, okay. Well,
this is Randalls Island.
This is how I get.
That's so
and
funny.
it's desolate. So you're like, yeah, this is also where probably the mob comes to bury people. Like this is where I would do it. So, but when I was a kid in elementary school,
right,
we didn't have we had a very small playground. So for recess, they just shut down the street, and then we just play we just like, yeah, go for it, and then we just run around the cars. That was recess.
Jesus,
just like, yeah, go for it.
As soon as Fox
just have fun. Yeah.
You should just send a tip to Fox News about Randalls Island, and fucking New York's done for.
Yeah. It's amazing we turned out okay.
I had a funny...
So anyway, you want to go play tennis at Randalls Island?
I'm so down to play tennis at Randalls Island. Yeah, no wonder it's so fucking cheap to play there. You know how sex offenders have to go to their neighbors and inform them like, hi, I'm your neighbor, I'm a registered sex offender.
Yeah.
Do you think they ever get nervous? They have like
I
the
think they do,
self-awareness?
yeah. I think they know.
Right.
Because you don't know how it's going to...
They
know they did something wrong.
So you think they're like...
I think.
But
or even if they don't, then
they want to get the tone right.
Yeah, they practice it.
I don't want to get too strong.
Yeah. You think they say what they did?
Well, it varies. Some of them is just like public urination, and others is straight up heinous, horrible things.
I don't think you should. Yeah, if you get public urination, you shouldn't have to tell your. Or maybe you should. And by the way, it's just public urination. Public urination. Don't worry.
They're like, I don't want to be too beta about this.
Yeah.
Or be too self-aware. It's like, hey.
They practice in the mirror.
That's what I mean. They got to be practicing in the mirror the first time they ever have to disclose it to a neighbor. Hey, sorry, I know this is kind of awkward. It's like, fuck, I'm doing that thing where I'm kind of like I'm being too self-effacing. Come on, just own it. Hi, I'm your neighbor next door. I'm a sex offender.
My name's Jake. I'm a sex offender. That's who I am. It's part of me.
They read Brene Brown. They're like, radical acceptance.
He's like, I just read The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. And I like to show my cock to women in the subway. I don't know what's wrong with that. I don't know what the issue is. The unsubtle art.
It's 2025. Okay, I hope you find the empathy in your heart to understand that my existence is valid too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where we're at, baby.
Okay, that was Middlebrow.